Some of you may know the Gap as that place in the mall that sells overpriced generic white people clothes, and you're right about that. But what you may not know is they also sell generic white people clothes through many other brands like Old Navy, Banana Republic, and H&M. They are basically the Genghis Khan of upper middle class nondescript clothing for white people. Gap refused to sign a binding agreement calling for improvised safety standards of its factories in Bangladesh following a disaster in which a garment factory collapsed, killing more than 500 people. This helped them secure a Public Eye Award in 2014, which is given out annually to a company deemed Worst of the Year. Congrats guys, I know you worked really hard to get there. It was discovered that Gap Incorporated was contracting work from companies overseas that were hiring children as young as 10, working up to 16 hours a day for very little or in some cases no pay. And they didn't even have the common courtesy to call it an internship or give them college credit. The terrible irony is that many of these kids were actually making clothes for none other than, you guessed it, Gap kids. That's kinda up. And it gets worse. Some of the workers were bound to their workstations and beaten with rubber hoses if they didn't meet deadlines. Getting pregnant will cost you your job in some of these factories, while it isn't even an option in others, with some Chinese factories forcing women to get abortions in order to continue working. They will soon close around 25% of their full-price stores due to the ill fit and look of the women's clothing of late. This whack 90s commercial. The fact that I just said whack. Let's talk Gap Cash. You must spend $150 in order to receive $75 in Gap Cash, but you also have to spend at least $150 on a purchase in order to use the Gap Cash that you receive. So you basically spend $300 to use the discount. And the credit card? Yeah. They switch your billing options without any notification so that customers are forced to pay late fees for missing payments without even knowing that there is a payment in the first place. Their fraud department is not helpful either, costing numerous people up to $1,000 in unauthorized purchases. One customer claimed that they waited a month for their Gap credit card to come in the mail, and when it did not come, he decided to report the problem to Gap. Gap was helpful and decided to void the card. 1 month later, he received his card in the mail, only to find it was the original card that he had ordered. 2 months late and completely voided. Apparently, Kanye West used to be a sales assistant at a Gap. They let him go because he kept cutting off his customers when they would tell him what they were looking for. He'd be like, yo, I'm gonna let you finish, but our women's section has the best jeans of the year. As most of you know, Gap owns Old Navy.
Welcome to Old Navy.
The younger, frumpier, and less successful brother of the Gap. So I'm holding them responsible for this insanely stupid commercial.
Ask me any questions till I get my caffeine, 'cause I look CTE, whatever my locale, when I get a mani pedi or a root canal.
Old Navy, i.e. Gap Incorporated, was also charging $15 more on average for plus-size women's jeans, while larger sizes for men stayed exactly the same.
Welcome to Old Navy.
Creating bizarrely subtle sexist fat shaming. Their customer service is atrocious. Countless people have complained about shoulder shrugs and eye rolls from the salesmen before reluctantly helping them. While this is surely not true about every employee or even every Gap, it shows that Kanye isn't the only asshole who worked at Gap. Here is their Teletubbies collection. Gap has stated in the past that they are fur-free, but they still sell fur through Intermix, another brand of theirs. Also, you may have noticed that back in 2010, their logo briefly changed from this to this, using a bland, overused Helvetica font. Not only that, but it's the same font used by its competitor, American Apparel. On top of that, it uses a gradient blue box that has no purpose beyond reminding us of its previous logo. F***ing brilliant.
You ain't got the answers, man. You ain't got the answers.
Kanye.